everybody. Hello, everybody. We are so excited to have, oh man, an amazing show set up for you guys that we are getting ready to get into and dive into. So we want to make sure that you are tuned in, that you're locked in, you're ready. I got a heavy hitter. I know we've been doing these, getting ready to do it. Let me see. Let me get Mama Janet to turn her camera on.
Oh, what am I doing?
Yeah, see, turn it off. Let's see here. So we'll get her coming in here. Get her back on. All right. But we'll give everybody an opportunity to join and be a part of this. So yes, my mothers and me, we are getting ready to do it, getting ready to have it and make it happen.
I'm back, baby.
There she is. Listen, this is what we got. This is what we dealing with right here.
I was trying to turn the phone off and then I turned Zoom off. Oh my goodness, technology.
But this is why this moment is really so just powerful and just special for me. We're letting everybody get on as we get ready to just get started, man. Just welcoming everybody. So, Mama, listen, you focus on the Zoom. Don't worry about the Facebook.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. Don't worry about that. Yeah, you gonna see it later. Yeah, just watch it right here.
I'll look at it later, huh?
Yeah. You can't watch it in real time. There we go. Watch it in real time.
Okay.
Oh man, yeah. So we are going to get started here shortly. Just another minute. I've been so anxious and excited about this all day. I said, man, I've been on so many cameras and did this and preached in front of so many folks. I said, when we were sitting in the waiting room before we got ready to come in, I said, man, why am I so nervous? I said, I'm just nervous. I just having all y'all together. But no, it's just so exciting. It's really such a joy. Ever since starting, like the podcast with Let's Talk About It, and now being able to have this segment, and this segment will be called My Mothers and Me. And because I have so many amazing mothers, so many great mothers out there, and this is going to be the first round of My Mothers and Me. So my other mothers, get ready. Make sure you get ready, because I'm going to be calling and texting y'all too, and make sure y'all ready on technology. So I want to understand that we didn't practice this. We didn't got ready. We had to make sure everybody can click buttons and headphones.
Amen.
So it's been an experience. But I say this. I'm glad that I have the opportunity, and I told Tori, me and Tori called me this morning. He was like, P. Ryan, I'm gonna bet you that you don't make it through the whole show without crying. And I said, man, no, I'm gonna do it. I can make it. I'm ready. I've gotten locked in. Got my big boy drawers on. Not gonna cry, but no. I really suggest that every person, take the opportunity to really, do a Zoom, do a video recording with your mother, with your siblings, with your family, during this time, and you can have that recording, you can always have that memory. So, and like I told them, a big part of this was really for, selfish reasons, to being able to be able to capture this moment and to be able to have this time that I can go back and just view later. But how I want to be able to just quickly let, these amazing ladies just introduce themselves. And then I'm going to talk about how this thing about me and mothers came to be. So I'm going to start with my mom. And so listen, so let me say this. Let me first say this, because one of the most hardest things of trying to do this was just saying mama, because typically they in separate places. And I remember I'm saying mama, and everybody saying, huh? So I would dare not call you by your first name without your permission, especially not in public, because I know better. I know I'm not in a place where I can just use your first name loosely like that, So, but I will be using, you know, Mama Kathy, Mama Carolyn, and Mama Janet, you know. So if I just happen to say Mama and everybody say huh, that's just
All
part
right.
of it, you know. But no, I'm gonna start with my mother, my you know, my biological mother, the woman who asked God for me. But so Mom, just introduce yourself, please.
My name is Catherine Witherspoon Pirine, and I am his biological mother. And I've been his mother for how old, you son?
Listen, and that's a funny thing. So me and Will, like I literally just talked about this with Will. I was like, man, am I 36 or 37? 30, I was like, no, I'm 37. And I was like really, like, I guess, you know, how y'all call them, you know, like them senior moments.
Right.
And I really got stuck. I was like, man, how old am I? Yeah, threw me all the way out. Definitely. Yeah, threw me all the way out. But yeah, so for 37 years, Mama. For 37 years.
Okay, good looking out.
All right, there we go. All right, Mama Carolyn.
My name is Carolyn Prim, and I looked up one day and I had a son, a big son, a loving son. And I got to know him, Wesley, from church. And I'm just glad that he's a part of my life. Now I'm connected to him spiritually because I'll think about him and he'll call me, or he'll be on my mind and I'll send him a text and he was saying, Mama, that was just what I needed. So that's how I'm connected to Wesley. What a joy.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you. And then my OG mama, one that's ready to go if anything pop off. I'm ready, Mama Janet.
There you go. I got you, baby. My name is Janet Newton, and as he said, I'm his OG mom. I got his back. Don't mess with my boys. I have about one biological child, but I have many, many boys, and particularly boys. I guess because I raised one. But yes, I met Wesley at church, and I saw him over there, and I thought, And of course, the bow tie caught my eye. And then he started talking. I said, he's really cool. I like him. And then I heard him preach. And then I knew I liked him.
Amen.
So
Amen.
we started from there. In the youth department, him and my granddaughter. He had to take my granddaughter in, and he had to figure out where she came from. So it all came together.
Yes. And it's no coincidence, you know, that Mama Carolyn and Mama Janet say, you know, that they met in church, because my mom, you know, always the story, how this whole thing came really to be. I remember before I was born, you know, said my mom, she had my sister. And first, let me say shout out to my biological sister Casey and all my other brothers and sisters like Chad and Mama Carolyn, her biological kids, for allowing me to borrow y'all mama, to share, you know, to share y'all mamas, you know, with me and that kind of stuff, because it is, you know, it is a great feat, and we'll get into some of that stuff later. But my mom had my sister Casey, and then my mom said, you know, that she always wanted to have a boy. And then so she was praying and asking God for a boy, and she started to feel as if God wasn't hearing her prayer. But she realized that she needed to change the narrative of her prayer. So versus her saying, God, give me a boy, she started praying, God, if you give me a boy, I promise I'll give him back to you. And then so lo and behold, she became pregnant with me. And then when God called me to the ministry at 14 years old, and it was that point when God, he asked for that promise now, that she had to return me back to him. And then so at that point in my life, she knew that there was something in store. She saw, you know, she would always say that, son, you can't see with the eyes that you have right now. And at first, you know, that just didn't make sense to me. But now as I've gotten older, of course, because she was saying that she was looking through eyes of wisdom. She was seeing farther down the road. And she, you know, so she began to pray, God, wherever you take him, make sure he has mothers to care for him, mothers to correct him, and mothers to where he can cry on. So, you know, to be able to be vulnerable with, because at that time I didn't know, you know, like I say, I'm 14 years old, you know, I'm in Mobile and that kind of stuff, but whatever she saw at that time, to say, okay, wherever he go, and then all the places that I've traveled, without fail, there's always mothers. There's always somebody who God has said, that's the one, that's the one. So, you know, I want to ask Mama Kathy, you know, like what was kind of in your mind during that space?
Well, during that time when I said, Lord, if you give me a son, I give him back to you. And when you turned 14 and you said to me, Mother, I'm not asking you, can I preach? Because that's not the question. The question, will you support me in my preaching? And I said, Lord, this soon? You're asking back my son this soon? He has not lived. And then the Lord said, but I'll be with him. And I said, if I'm not with him, Lord, make sure that there's somebody. And Wesley was always a child who gravitated toward older members in the church. I'll never forget this. We had a lady in our church and her mother was sick. Wesley was 7 years old, and he went up to her and he said, Miss Harris, I just want you to know your mother's going to be okay because I prayed.
Oh, right.
And ever since then, she became one of his mothers in the church. She's always loved that boy. And that's what I began to see wherever he go. If he has to leave town for a job, because a lot of the kids were leaving town after they graduated from college, you go with him, Lord, and provide a mother, because he depends on these ladies to hold tight to him.
Amen.
Yeah. And then, so, you know, within that vein, as Mama Carolyn, as, you know, my spiritual mother, you know, I just remember how we end up being connected. Like I saw, I would see her at church, but it was the irony of when the connection took place, because there's always, at this point, God speaks to me clearly when he says, that's her. Like, that's her. And don't get me wrong, I have a ton of mothers who care for me, pray for me, but there's a certain spiritual assignment, and there's like a certain weight, because, and we're going to talk about this later, to where how all of these women, their ability to mother extends past their children, like they mother other people's children and those kind of things. But with Miss Carolyn, I remember sitting at her daughter's funeral, and God bless the dead. I remember sitting at her daughter's funeral, and I'm looking at, you know, people around just crying and just, you know, like the emotion, and I'm crying, and that same smile that like Miss Carolyn got right now, she had it. And I'm like, how's this woman like sitting in so much peace? And then I remember it was like after the funeral, I said, you know, I was like, okay, Miss Carolyn, if there's anything, you know, that you need, I can do. And she said, baby, my Father in heaven has supplied everything that I need. And at that point, God said,
that's the one.
That's the one. Because in that lowest moment. So Mom, I just kind of want you to just talk about that and how your faith in that moment in losing a child was so strong.
You know, Wesley, that was a point in my life. I was a single mom. I was married and had 2 kids, and I was a single mom for years. So I had a relationship with God, because he became my husband and my protector and my keeper and everything. But the death of my daughter, he took me to a place that I haven't come out of yet, that is truly amazing. He took me, I mean, he just still blowing my mind about that one right there, because he just kind of put me under like a covering and just poured out such joy, such peace within my spirit, because he gave me a scripture to stand on that I didn't even know that I knew. And it says, in everything, give thanks, because this is the will of God for,
Mhm.
for you in Christ Jesus. And I thought,
Mm-hmm.
but the part that got me is his will. So I come to understand him. It just took me to a whole nother level spiritually.
Gotcha.
And so um, it's amazing that it taught you, it drew you to me like that. But it was such a time that I still don't understand it now. We often talk about it, because one of the things he did teach me in the midst of all of that is that he I didn't lose her. He said, "You didn't lose her." He said, "I called her home."
All
Wow.
right. All
Wow.
right.
He said, I'm gonna call everybody.
Mhm.
So your
Hmm.
job is to let everybody know I haven't missed her, because I still think about, it's like she's here with me,
Hmm.
Mhm.
because I understand he called her home. And
Amen.
this is not our home. This is not our home. He said, this is
Right.
not your home.
That's
Right.
right.
Mm-hmm.
Guess
Right.
what?
Mhm.
So what we're just here completing the mission,
Mhm.
Right.
like the mission that Jesus
Right.
started. We're here completing that mission, our
That's
part
right.
of the mission for him. So
Amen.
it just took me to a whole nother place, Wesley.
Thank you. Thank you. And you were saying, being that, that single mom, and I know Miss Janet, being that teen mom,
Hmm.
being, and then being in that space, and it's kind of, and I think that was, and raising Chad, and you always tell the story of how, like Chad has always seen college because he was
Yeah.
with you in college.
He had no choice but to finish college, huh?
Yeah.
Mhm.
But to those, but
Yeah, because
to that mama that's listening, that teen mom, right? Kind of talk
yes.
about that.
Yeah, I was a junior in high school. I was 16 years old, and of and something Miss Carolyn said made me think of, from my position, having my mother and my family and that village, because I was still being raised.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Right.
That village is what helped me. But
Mhm.
Hmm.
I was able to go to college straight out of high school, and was able, my parents helped me, but I was able to take my son with me. So that's why I always tease him and said, he went to college before he went to kindergarten because he was 3.
Mhm.
Right.
So he was
Mhm.
he was on campus with me. He was on campus with my friends. All of my friends helped me. I mean, it truly takes a village with a child, and
Absolutely.
as a single mother, you've got to have that support.
Hmm.
So in order for you, I my son and I grew up a lot together because I was still learning, because I was a teenager. So yes, that I think has helped me in my career. That's helped me in my path with getting, as you said, bringing other people into my life,
Right.
Mhm.
children,
Right.
and
Mhm.
all of that, and just knowing that it's not easy, and the world's so different now than even when I did that.
Hmm.
That it seems like 100 years ago. It really wasn't. But the way the world has changed, it seems like it was 100 years
Oh,
ago because
absolutely.
Yeah.
things are different.
It's
But
different.
the one thing I
Mhm.
know for sure is all moms, single too. I'm speaking from my experience, but all moms need support. All
Yes.
moms need
Yes,
somebody that they can go to and turn to, because
absolutely.
one of the things when Miss Carolyn was talking too was I was thinking, I didn't have my relationship with God when I was 16 years old. You were very fortunate, Wesley. But I had mamas praying, I had grandmas praying. I knew
Mm.
how to pray, and I grew up in the
Mm-hmm.
church.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yeah.
But they taught me how to get to where I am today,
Amen.
and to
Yes.
be the mother I
Yes.
am, to be able to share what I do. That
Yes.
that goes back to
Yes.
where I came from
Mhm.
to
Right.
get me where I'm at.
And that's
Hmm.
so
So
true. Because when
that
we,
and that's where I teach my grandchildren. That's what I teach my kids. Go ahead.
no, I was just saying, like, no, like that's literally, like, that's so true when we talk about things being different, right? And we have that generational connection, So when you think
Right.
about just like motherhood, right? So
Hmm.
Mama Kathy, like what comes to mind when you think about just, being a mama, and asking you, like, did you did you even plan that? You know, like, did you plan us?
Yes, I did. Because as you know, I used to tell you all the time that I wanted to be a mother long before I wanted to be married. While everybody else was getting married, wanted to be married and all that. And I was saying, I don't remember playing with baby dolls growing up, but I'm sure I did. But I knew I wanted to be a mother. And believe it or not, I'm one of the few people that I know that enjoyed being pregnant. And I had planned you. So I said, let me get married so I can get my babies out the way. So I finally got married because I was getting old. I'm 30 years older than my daughter, and she's 30 years older than her daughter. So I'm 60 years older than my granddaughter. So I said, I better get a move on. Let me get married so that I can hurry up and get these babies that I want so bad.
What about you, Carolyn? What about you, Carolyn? Like you know, like, did you want babies?
Not really. I really didn't. And but the Lord saw differently because I got married, and so I had my daughter first, and then 5 years later, I had my son, and then I got a divorce after that. But I didn't really, in going to college and all of that, I never wanted to have kids. I didn't really want to go into teaching, but because I did have kids and I wanted to make sure that they had what they needed, I started working in preschool. And so now, 50 years later, I'm still in preschool with children.
Preschool teacher. Preschool teacher. I tell you, she got patience like none other.
I'm with the babies. I'm actually all over Dallas. I've been with children, teaching and directing centers, and now I've been where I am now at Mount Hebron. I've been there 26 years. I actually started the school there. But that was not my plan. But I over the years I come to understand that my plans don't amount to anything. It's what he wants. And
God knows what you have to offer.
That's right. That's right.
He knew what you had to offer.
That's right. That's exactly what he knew. And so the older I got to rest into that, and I even quit working with children for about 10 years. I thought, it ain't no money in daycare. I am going to go and make some money.
I know that's right.
And about 10 years later, he said, but who's minding the children? I said, not me. He said, yes, you. And that's when he put me back into it for this last 26-year stunt that I'm in right now.
So, Miss Janet, thank you for that, Mama Carolyn. So, Mama Janet, like when you said at 16, I know you went like, hey. Yeah.
It wasn't planned. That's for sure. I didn't even have a plan. More or less having a child. Actually, and really, because I got pregnant, he made me have a plan. Wow. Because I hadn't even thought about college. That's sad to say as a junior in high school, but because I realized I need to figure something out. I got another person here I got to take care of. That's why I went to college. That's why I said I figured out I couldn't wait. I needed to go immediately from high school. I needed to get it done, or this person that I was going to be responsible for wasn't going to be able to make it. So yes, he gave me my plan, and God directed that plan. Because I'm from a very small town in Oklahoma, and it's just wasn't something that I didn't have exposure to those things in my little community. So the counselors didn't talk to the Black kids about going to college. I was in a class of over 500 people that I graduated from, but only 11 of those 500 were Black.
Wow.
So we were irrelevant in that situation, They we wasn't gonna do nothing, no way. So I had to, God had to lead me. That's why I said my mother's prayers, my grandmother's prayers, the community prayers, all of those. That is what that God guided ordered my steps for real. So no, was not planned. And in my growing up as a young lady, like Miss Kathy said, I had doll babies, but when the babies came to church, you know how some girls are always hovering around babies all the time. I don't want to be bothered with no baby.
I know that's right.
You know, babies. Okay, you go hold that baby. That wasn't my thing. So it was like, how did it happen? I had girlfriends that were like, they wanted babies.
Right.
Well, hey, I wish I could give it to you, but it still it directed me.
Got you.
It truly did me to do, I think, what my life ended up being. Because now I wouldn't change it. I wish I could.
So it wouldn't change it, huh?
No, I wouldn't change it now, but there were some difficult times, believe me.
Absolutely.
Where I thought about why did this happen, but no, I wouldn't change it now.
Man, I remember how, like, me and Miss Janet, right? So when I knew, okay, like Miss Janet was the one. So I was, my previous job, right? I was traveling a ton. Like I was coming in, I'm traveling. And I remember getting this phone call. And Miss Janet said, Wesley, I know you're busy. I know you got a lot going on. I know you think you're important, but I ain't heard from you. Now, a text don't take nothing but a second. I didn't text you. I didn't call you. You need to slow down and call and just let me know that you okay.
Yeah, that's all I need.
And then so when she hit me with that, I said, yeah, she the one, to be able to
discipline you.
Yes, because that's what that's what my mom would say, that's what my mama says, so it all, so there's those certain things to where I could see her prayers, right? And I can see how God, how she said, God, if I'm not there. So she, she wanted to duplicate herself in so many different women to be able to provide that. And when it comes to all of you, because I share all of you with so many other awesome people, but when it comes to you, Miss Janet, and around, your ability to mother going, past Chad, past Alana, past myself, past so many others, like, how does that work for you?
By education, I'm a social worker.
Right.
Which means I'm out there looking to help. How did that happen? But anyway, and I'm watching. I'm such a people watcher. You can see certain things, and he planted something in me that told me when to act. People gravitate to me. I'm standing in the grocery store. People tell me their problems. So I just always been one of those. I was in junior high school, and one of my girlfriends' father was having a problem with her father. Got me out of my English class, and the English teacher allowed it. So it was something that he planted that said I'm supposed to help. Gotcha. And I am a very tough exterior. I say that I am brutally honest, but I never mean to hurt anybody's feelings.
Right.
I have, and I apologize, but I'm gonna come. And I tell people now, don't ask me a question if you don't really want to hear the answer.
You say that. You need that.
Because
we need that.
I'm gonna be honest with you, so don't ask me. But those are the type, and so everybody can't come to me for help. Right. Only it's certain people that I would probably hurt their feelings, and I don't mean to. But people, just some kind of way, I know, and they know. It's just like you and me. We click, and and mostly, I said this earlier, I think, because I raised a son who was in athletics and everything. I have had, when my son was in college, he brought home 3 carloads of hungry boys. They were from all over the country, and they came home to eat, do laundry, and party. So I figured out during those years that I had to be able to communicate. That's the OG piece, Wesley.
Oh yeah.
I had to figure out how to communicate with these boys to get the right things into them without putting them off with saying it too churchy.
Right.
So I
Right.
always took an opportunity that way. And those are the boys that I still hear from. I've got boys, one young man in Houston that he'll say every time he does a live, he does a prayer, daily devotion. He'll say, "There's Mama Newton. She always told me what I needed to hear, but it was rarely what I wanted to hear."
That's good stuff. And that's so
And
true.
that's the way that people started coming to me. Children in the hospital, I always showed up to see the mamas that stayed with the babies. You know, it's just, I look back over it and it's nothing but God. He sent me where I needed to go.
That's beautiful, man. I remember, and Mama Kathy,
Yes.
when we, you know, like hearing her saying, like, kind of raising.
Yes.
I remember
Yes.
like us coming up in the house.
Yes.
And my mom would say, "Here come the Denard and a tail." Like our house was that house, because y'all, you know, my mom would say, "If you're gonna do it, you're gonna do it here, where I can see you, where I can watch y'all, where I can do that." And then and even to this day, if people know people know I'm coming home, like that's just a text message, you know.
Yes.
I see you at your mama house. Okay, you know, like that's where I'm gonna be. Like that's where
That's
you
the
gonna
hangout.
And that's doing that, you know.
And I used to tell him all the time, "I know what goes on in here. I don't know what goes on in anybody else's house. You're going to be up in here." And that's where they bring all of their friends. And I want to touch on something Miss Janet said. It touched a bell with me, because I was a counselor for years. And you know, along with the social worker, we meet a lot of people, and we need a lot of people we can reach out and help and all. And I remember I was at a hospital, and this lady walked up to me and she said, asked me a question, and I answered her, and I turned to this old guy that was sitting on the bench, and I said, "I don't know why people do that. They always ask me questions." And he looked at me and he said, "Because you look like you got the answer." So I never questioned that again.
Good answer.
Look like you got the answer. And I just want you all to know that you know, we had the Kool-Aid house. All the children would be around. Everybody would be around at the Kool-Aid house.
Amen.
I know that's right.
And it was. I mean,
when they went off to college, good gracious of life. Sometimes they would come in from a basketball game and look like the whole team. Sometimes I would come in and have to step over folks because I'd be tired and sleeping, and I've gone to bed. And I remember one time the dean called me and said, "Miss P. Ryan," I said, "Yeah, I had a parent that called me and said that her daughter didn't come in after the basketball game. Is she at your house?" I said, "Wait a minute, Dean, let me see." I said, "Yeah, she up in here. Girl, call your mama." So we had the days, Janet.
That's right. Hey, but like you said, thank God they were at our house.
Yeah,
because like you knew what they were doing if they was at home.
That's right.
Yeah.
And it's so different today, though. You know, it's so different. You know, I look at in that dynamic, and it really saddens me. You know, that we don't have. You know, even when I go outside, you know, just to see kids playing outside and that engagement, like to see. I mean, I can't think of the last time I saw a driveway full of bicycles.
Right.
You know, where everybody drove and drop them off. And I mean, because my mama, man, that was some of the worst cussing outs we used to get, like, because she getting off work at 5 o'clock and try to turn in that driveway, and it's packed with bicycles and everybody. Oh man, just them, you know, I tell people, so that's why, see, you know, that's why I connect with you so good, Mama Janet, because like people don't realize, like my mama cussed me out from junior year in high school to senior, like every morning, you know, when she got cranked.
Because you didn't understand nothing else.
Nothing else, you know, nothing else. And at that point,
fireworks were not allowed in our neighborhood, right?
Right.
And he and his crew got out there with some fireworks. And the police station was about a half a block from my house. And the police pulled up. I went outside, and I'm saying, "Oh Lord." But anyway, the police end up telling the other cop, "We can go. She got this."
Man, that cop, listen, when my mama realized what we had did, Mama Carolyn, we had set a whole stump on fire in the parking lot. So we had the fire, having firecracker wars and doing this, and them firecrackers got out of hand, and somebody called the police, and so we took off running. We ran off and we came back, and we sitting in the house, heavy breathing and sweating. So at that point, that knock on the door, and then my mama said, "Y'all did what?" And she went off. Cop said, "No, they all right. No, all right. No, she got that. Yeah, she got all them. All
We
them."
can go. She got this.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm telling you, I remember. I mean, my last whooping. I mean, we say, from Alabama whooping. I think I was in college, and my mama slapped me. Mama slapped me then and said, "Boy, I kill you.
All right.
Boy, I kill you." Yeah. I mean,
Thank you.
tell your life out you. But now those are those things. I think.
Yeah.
I mean, I really, really appreciate those times and being able to, like function in those moments. What are some of the things that y'all are doing? Mama Carolyn, what are you doing right now during this time of, shelter in place? Because I know my biological mom up there, she real hard-headed. She always got something to do. So, but what about you? What you doing?
Well, I'm praising the Lord that I don't have any children around. How about that? Enjoying every minute of it, because I know that he has a purpose within this for us. And I do, because working with the children, I'm used to being kind of on the go. So even though there's no one at school, I still go up there to check the mail, check the emails. And my sister asked me, "You don't want to do that from home?" I said, nope. That means I got
you being hard-headed too. You being hard-headed too. Okay.
Nope.
I just want to see. Okay. I figured you would. That's why I came to you. I figured you was. It went from, the same way, the same mom. And then, so I say, "Mama, it's shelter at home." And then so my mama say, "Well, I'm not going in the store. They bringing it out to me."
Right.
Yeah.
But that's still, it's like it's still defeating the whole purpose, right? Got to be somewhere else to do. Mama Janet, what are you doing in this time?
Well, now my I almost said 15-year-old, but my 16-year-old.
16-year-old.
Yeah, my granddaughter turned 16 Wednesday. She stays with me, and I've been being a teacher a little bit, but really, she's in high school. She gets up, comes downstairs, gets on the computer, and does her thing. And I have, as you know, I retired at 55, but I've worked, and now as church secretary, I still have church business to take care of.
Right.
So of course I have to go to the church. And then there's days you really have to go to the store.
Yes.
Right. Yes, you do.
I mean, you don't have a choice. You gotta go to the store. You got nice masks, and you got gloves, and you do what you gotta do.
Yes,
absolutely.
Okay,
that's right.
So
grandparents doing homework, that's been a big thing. I've been hearing more about that.
Yeah.
I called my mama. She talking about me and Peyton got a test. And I'm like, Peyton got a test. What you talking about? I gotta have this stuff in and doing that. So listen, shout out to all the mamas that are teachers now, really teaching and doing that.
Yeah,
and the grandmas,
and the grandmamas who really stepping in to do
interesting times. Yes,
it's completely different. That's what I'm saying. We're in something that we've never seen before.
Ever.
We've never seen before.
That's true.
What are you doing, Mama Kathy? What are you doing to stay, during this time? I already know what you're doing, but you can tell everybody else what you're doing.
I do what I have to do. When you used to being busy, you just be busy. Even my daughter complained. I said, "Well, let me get up and do this, or let me get up and do that," because I'm used to being busy. I'm not used to just sitting at home doing nothing. And so now I spend a lot of time on the internet ordering stuff that I probably don't even need.
You don't need it.
I said, it's a box coming here every day, until I said, I got to hire somebody now to come haul the boxes off. It's something coming in every day. I said, I can't go get my nails done, so I ordered me a nail drill, and it just came in today.
A nail drill, not a nail drill, like she been doing nails.
And I did.
She been drill nail, just the worst. I mean, just crazy stuff. I mean, every day. You don't even need none of that stuff that you order. Stop giving Amazon all your money.
I think Amazon deserves it. They're going to bring it right to my door. Just what I need.
The Amazon delivery guy's your best friend right now, huh?
Yes, he is. He is. as he waved, hey, and the FedEx guy waved, he ring the doorbell, leave the box at the door, and I stick my head out the door. He said, "Have a nice day, Miss P. Ryan. See you tomorrow."
See you tomorrow, though.
Yeah. You know, I mean, this stuff is crazy. I mean, with everything,
Oh, that's
you know,
funny.
when it comes to also when it comes to, you know, during this time, I definitely want to pause and just mention and say to those individuals who are saddened now because mama's gone.
Mhm.
A big piece of this is that I want you to be able to see that you can have mamas. Like you can have multiple
Right.
mamas.
Mhm.
You can
Mhm.
have and I encourage everybody to you know, latch on. And for me, what I love about my mothers is that they embrace their age, you know, and I understand, you know, because I say, I mean, I got a group full of silver foxes, you know, we got
Absolutely
we
right.
got the low cut gray,
Absolutely.
we got the curly gray, we got the slick back gray, you know, so we got the gray, but they embrace that, and I love their sense because there's wisdom in their maturity, right? You know, so it's not like they the, you know, the 60 trying to be the new 40, 40 trying to be the new 20 and all that. No,
Nope.
it's like, no.
Mm-mm.
Not
You
at
know,
all.
so,
Mm-mm.
you know, I encourage everybody to, you know, find that woman, that mature woman, that spiritual woman, that woman that has lived, that has, you know, been through something, gone through something, because as you can see, I have them on all different levels because
Right.
essentially that's who my biological mama was. She
Yes.
was initially, she
Yes.
was my
All of
spiritual
them.
provider. She was the one who was going to cuss me out. She was the one who was going to protect me. She was the one who was going to feed me and do all this. So when she said, God, make sure if I'm not there. So
Yes.
every step of the way, you know, is being able to embrace that. So let me, you know, as we kind of get ready to kind of wrap this stuff up, but, you know, when it comes to just advice, right? If, you know, something that you could say to, you know, to that young mother that's possibly watching, to that single mother that's watching, to that mother who wanted to be a mother more than she wanted to be married, you know, to those persons, to that, because what I see in front of me now is countless years of wisdom, of women who have amazing
Wow.
stories, who've overcome so many things, from cancer to the loss of a child, from teen pregnancy to, you know, have overcome those things that take some folks out,
Mhm.
Yes.
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 you know.
Yes.
So, and to be able to see y'all function in the vein that you function in now. So, you know, final thoughts. I'll start with you, Mama Carolyn. Final thoughts.
Final thoughts to mothers, no matter what generation, what year, what's going on all around you. The main
She hit the
You hit
button.
mute. You hit mute. There we go. She back. There we
There you
go.
go.
that gives you the stability that you need. And often I hear people talk about this generation that we have now, the millenniums. The millennium is just like the every other generation.
Yep.
You have to know who Jesus is.
Amen.
Amen.
We went
Amen.
through and we experience things, and it is the experiences that we have that teaches
Mhm.
us who God is. He
Yeah.
wants to show you who He is. So if you can get past yourself
Hmm.
and and understand that He made it all, He made you, and He has a purpose for you, and your purpose is to worship Him and to love Him, and then He can live through you. That's how I love the children. I love the boys.
Mhm.
I love
Mhm.
I stick to the boys a lot, but also
I
Mhm.
feel you.
I feel you too.
because kind of straightforward, kind of like Janice. Now, if you
Yeah.
don't want the truth, don't come to me.
That's
Mhm.
it.
Still,
That's it.
more than anything, know that you got to have a relationship with God. That's all.
Yes.
That's all. That's it.
Thank you, Mama. Thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you so much. I remember Mama Carolyn. I remember this one story to where, I mean, it was like things were just kind of crazy and hectic. And I was just trying to get my mind wrapped around some stuff. And I remember going up to her and then and I'm crying and I'm telling her everything that's going on. And Mama Carolyn just started laughing. And I mean, like, she was laying on me laughing. I'm holding her up. I'm like, Mom, what you doing? Like, I'm hurting. I'm pouring out. She said, I can't believe that you expected to not go through nothing when you bound for greatness.
Wow.
She said
Wow.
that comes with that. She
Yeah.
said, what God has in store for you, he has to prepare you through these times.
That's it.
Amen.
You
He
know,
does.
so I remember just that always clicking into me, being able to have that. And then so Mama Janet, final words.
First, I want to thank your mom for allowing you. You thank our children for sharing us. I want to thank her for sharing you and sending you our way,
Oh,
Amen.
thank you.
because you've brought a lot to my life, and I look to
Mhm.
you for things. But I guess the thing that I agree totally that you got to have God in your life,
Mhm.
because the most difficult time in my life
Mhm.
was when I lost my mother,
Mm-hmm.
because
Stop.
that made me the matriarch in my family. And
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know if I was ready. But some kind of way, because it was his will for that to happen,
Mhm.
I had no choice but to be ready. And my grandchildren, my children, and other family members, other friends come to me. You have to be ready. As a single mom, as
I think we froze. I think
who you are,
there
and you
we go.
got to
We are.
know who's around you.
Right.
Amen.
And you got to stay on top of that. God's always there, even when
Absolutely.
you don't think he is, and even when you're not going to it, he's
Mhm.
always there.
Oh,
But
yeah.
you've got to make sure that you know who you are. Self
Amen.
evaluation is real.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You can lie to other people, but you can't lie to yourself.
Mm-mm.
Amen. So
So
true.
you got to be real.
Gotta be
Amen.
real.
And my wrap up, that's where I try my best, is to know me. And it's some things I can't do, accept that, but know what you can and do that very well.
Amen.
Amen. I remember, with Miss, with Mama Janet, being, so real, and just being in those moments, because it's those times for me when you need that pat on the back, but sometimes you need that kick in the behind.
Thank
Mhm.
you.
And then
That,
so, because I know that's what my mama would do, so, and that's what, she provides, so I
yeah.
just definitely want to say thank you for that, being able to provide just that kick in the butt and say, boy, you done lost your mind, get it together and do what you need to do. And that's what we need.
Amen.
We
So,
Amen.
all do.
all
Yes.
right.
Thank
And
you.
mama, your final thoughts over there. Your final thoughts.
I think that the key to being a good mother is to have a purpose in life. I
Mhm.
would tell my daughter all the time, who had a daughter, the Bible tells you what you need to know to be a good woman,
Mhm.
Mm.
to be a good mother,
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
and to do what you're supposed to do. And if
Mm-hmm.
you follow the word, you won't go wrong.
Amen.
Nobody said it was going to be easy,
Mm.
because
Nobody.
just like Sister Carolyn, I was divorced
Mhm.
and I was left with 2 children that I was raising as a single parent almost.
Mhm.
And I just want you to know it's going to get rough sometimes.
Yes,
But
it
if
Real
is.
you
rough.
put your trust in the Lord and
Mhm.
follow what directions He has in your
Amen.
path, you're going to be okay.
Amen.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, you got to give love.
Yeah.
because God so loved. You got to
Mhm.
give love.
Got
And
to.
if you love as a parent, that means you will be willing to give up your life for your child.
Well,
And so you know it's going to get rough sometime because the road will get rough. But know
it's not easy.
there's somebody who's going to be watching over and protecting you and leading you and guiding you
Amen.
through the rough times.
Yeah.
Amen. Amen.
Yeah.
Well, thank y'all. Hold on one second. I just want to end with this.